Welcome back to Atmosfearic. I am joined yet again here with the lovely Ciaran.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about survival horror, which is something that, above all else, is my favorite thing. I
I'm
love
about to say
survival
it's
horror.
your favorite.
It is like this is my thing. Like I think survival horror is truly probably the catalyst that got me into horror. Like I watched horror movies, I played other types of horror games, I read books and stuff like that. But I don't think it was until I started playing survival horror games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill that I truly was like, this is a fixation. This is something I'm gonna enjoy. Because that was, being in the moment and having all the things that go on with survival horror is unlike any other format. So it's a very unique experience compared to a lot of other facets of the horror genre. What are your
Mhm.
experiences with the survival horror, Kirina?
Oh,
I don't know why I'm talking like this. Ah, bah, bah,
about
bah.
jack shit. About jack shit.
Really?
Not a genre I touch that often. I don't know why. I think I played Silent Hill 2 with the remake. I played Silent Hill Homecoming and Downpour, which I regret. I played Resident Evil 5 with my friend back in the day, Resident Evil 4 on the remake, and Resident Evil 7.
Okay.
That's about it.
Not any like
Um,
Silent Hills or Dino
that's
Crisis
it.
or
Nope. So when I was younger and like those games were coming out and those games are popular, I was playing on my Nintendo. I was
uh,
playing like Legend of Zelda. I was playing on my PlayStation, Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, those kind of games. Because I was like really big into. I was a Nintendo kid, so I
mm-hmm.
didn't. Like I said, I didn't really get into horror until I was much much older. So I don't have a lot of the memories that everyone has with Resident Evil or Silent Hill or any of those kinds of series. I love the stories. I love the
Right.
lore. I love watching retrospectives and breakdowns of them. I have barely touched any of those games. I guess if you want to consider Alien Isolation survival horror,
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so.
um, I've done that one. And what was that? There's another indie game that was pretty good. That was like a spoof
What's
on a
it?
lot of different
Mm,
horror games. But I
okay.
have not really done a lot. No.
That's actually so surprising to me, and now it makes me want to hold you at gunpoint and be like, play this, play that, play this. Especially because
So
you saying you're a Nintendo kid doesn't erase the fact that Resident Evil was on Nintendo, that
mhm.
Fatal Frame was on Nintendo,
Yep.
fucking fuck man, there was another one that was
Oh, I
also on
played
Nintendo as
Dread
well.
Out. Does that count?
Yeah, yeah, I would say that counts.
I played
There are
Dread Out.
definitely like different facets of it. Anything that you have to like manage resources and like do the puzzles and go through the levels and stuff like that while you're being oppressed is probably in the ballpark of being like the survival horror, because I'd even consider, like, although it's not a horror game, either of these, I would say loosely like Prey and BioShock also fall into these categories just a little bit.
I love the BioShock series. I've played
Yeah,
all of those.
yeah.
So I guess it really depends on what you define as survival horror, because the survival horror tag is on almost everything these days, but there is
Hmm.
definitely a defining genre that exists there. And my brain immediately goes Fatal Frame, Resident Evil. Like, it for me, it always sticks with that third person perspective and like tank camera controls or a locked camera is what I originally think of with classic survival horror.
Yeah, it definitely culminates around, like, at least like the majority of it culminates around the idea of like a innate helplessness. I feel like a lot of the other games, like when we talk about Dead Space and BioShock and Prey and all these other games, they're a lot more action orientated. Um,
Yeah.
Even Alien Isolation is kind of more action orientated. It does give you a lot of tools to kind of deal with it. Maybe not right away. You do kind of just get thrown into the xenomorph, but like after a point, it's not really a threat. Neither are the synths. Um,
Mhm.
but like, yeah, like Resident Evil, Silent Hill. Well, Resident Evil's hit or miss depending on the game, but Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Fatal Frame usually put you in a position where you're very closely managing resources that ultimately decide if you're going to even survive the situation. Um, And you never usually are too OP unless you get to like Resident Evil 5 and 6, where that's, all kind of thrown
Punching
out
a
the
boulder.
window and you're just in an action movie at that point. Um,
Yeah.
but before
Oh, we
that,
played 6.
huh?
We both played 6 together and 5.
We did, and I need to play them again, as well as 1 and 0.
I need to
And
play all of them.
4 remake, maybe even the original too, because I haven't played that in a while. But yeah, I always loved survival horror growing up, because I think of the tension, because like even when I was more scared at horror, I could only be scared at something for so long before I'm kind of like, all right, I'm good. I'm immunized. I've consumed enough of this. I understand how you're gonna scare me. I understand how to deal with the threats. It's not a problem anymore. But like with Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Fatal Frame, even if you get used to the horror, there's always the tension of the actual mechanics of the game. And so you're always like, I'm managing resources, I have limited saves, I might lose a lot of progress, and the fights are kind of clunky, which means that there's a lot more risk for you to actually get hurt and injured, even if you think you're good at the game. And there's a lot of like replay value to it, even without that. And so like the tension persists in a different capacity without there being the horror element anymore. And I think for me, that ends up being usually how indicative I see something as like a true survival horror. Like if I get to a point where I'm like an hour or two into a game and I no longer feel like I'm threatened, it isn't a true survival horror, I guess, to me. And that's when like talking about like BioShock or Prey or Alien ISO for me would kind of make them fall off that genre then, because I'm like, after a point, I'm like, I'm God, so it's like, who cares? Like I'm shooting lightning from my fingertips, I'm doing everything they can do, and I know how to deal with every enemy type, and half the time I'm just walking past them because fuck it, I don't need to fight them. And so like, quintessential games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and whatnot are usually more so what I like think of, and they're definitely what shaped my interests in horror gaming, I guess, in general. Especially Silent Hill, because Resident Evil again is hybrid action, so like some of it's just kind of wonky, crazy, over the top action. So it's not always like innately horror coded.
Yeah. Usually Resident Evil to me, that's why like I got really confused with when people said survival horror. Because survival horror to me is like, oh, I'm trying to survive, I'm gonna die. So a lot of people said survival horror. Originally I was like, oh, Outlast and stuff like that, where there's no fighting, it's just running.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've come to realize that survival horror is a lot more of like, you have a fighting chance, and that's where the survival comes in, is understanding how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like, again, like keeping that tension's a big thing. So like, for instance, the original Resident Evil, which you gotta play, even if it's just the remake of it, because the remake of it is a all around.
I own all of them. I own all of them. So I own 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Revelations 1 and 2 and 8. I own all of them.
Zero's okay.
I bought them on my Steam sale.
Zero's okay, but 1 is like my favorite. Like,
okay.
As far as horror is concerned in the franchise,
I was debating playing all of them, leading up to 9. I was debating it. I was literally thinking about that the other day.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's a pretty good idea, especially playing the classic ones, because they were, as the elitists will say, it's more true to what Resident Evil is. But 1 is like always in a special place in my heart, because it's always tense. It's always tense, even when you know what to do, because you have the horror, which is the first stage of it. The unknown, going into every corridor, not sure what's going in there. Things changing too. You come back through the game, and sometimes there's enemies there that weren't there before, and different types of them. But then on top of that, you have limited amounts of saves, because you have to use a resource to save. You have to use these like ink ribbons to actually use the save points.
That would screw me over.
Yeah, so you can't save scum.
Screw me over.
You can't save scum. No! You run out of resources. If you decide to burn through all your available ink ribbons, and then you don't find another one for 2 hours, and you get to an hour and 45 minutes and you die, guess what? You're set back an hour and 45 minutes because of that. And like, the puzzles are usually in rooms that also have monsters in them or hazards, and like so like even when you're like not necessarily scared, you're always like, okay, I got like 15 handgun shots left, and there's these like 6 zombies in a hallway, and there's probably a boss fight coming up, and I only have 2 ink ribbons, and how do I do this? And then you're constantly like also having to traverse back through these rooms because you're finding new items, but you have a limited inventory space. So you're like, I don't think I need this right now, runs back to chest, puts it in the chest, and then runs somewhere else, does something else, realizes you need that item, runs back to chest, gets the item, goes back. And so there's a lot of that. And as you go back through these hallways, you're increasing the risk of you ending your run. Because, you know, things might spawn in, or the things that you decided to avoid instead of kill are there. And Resident Evil also had the things don't necessarily stay dead. Like, you have to actually confirm the kill. So like if you just shoot them 3 times and then they drop dead, they might actually get back up in 2 seconds, or they might just stay laying there, and you might leave the room, walk back through, come back through the room, and then the 3rd time you come back through, it's standing up again.
Okay.
And so you actually have to like burn and dispose of the bodies, or else they do that, but you also have a limited resource of how many times you could burn bodies. So you have to decide like when and where you want to kind of, I guess, create safe areas for you to navigate through. So you kind of only really do that for like highly congested areas or whatever, tight corridors.
That's too much thinking.
It's okay. It's okay. If Kid Me can do it, anyone else can do it. It was definitely a different kind of it, because like even the first Silent Hill game wasn't like that. It was more like Resident Evil like 2 or 3. With it more just being like maintaining combat resources and not just like environmental resources too. But like, yeah, Resident Evil 1's kind of its own monster, I guess, in its own way, because of that mechanic, because it doesn't really, it stops being like, you don't have to be as conscious as you go through the rest of the Resident Evil games, as much as you have to just keep an eye on your healing and your ammunition. So
Okay.
But and the further you get, the more true that becomes. Even like the more recent horror-centered ones, like 7 and 8. I mean, all you really do is hoard resources to make more ammo and to make more healing. You don't necessarily do. You don't have to like sit, like if you kill a fucking molded, it's dead. It's gone. Like it's not coming back. But if you kill a zombie in Resident Evil 1, it might come back. So
I don't want it to come back. I want it to stay dead.
yeah, I mean, you gotta burn it then. Gotta make sure.
I will get the gasoline.
That's exactly what you. Well, you use lighter fluid, but yeah, basically.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you use lighter fluid and like matches or something like that, or a lighter or whatever. Yeah.
I think the coolest thing that I've seen. So I have a few survival horror games like on my list. Like I have a game called Tormented Souls I really want to play. The sequel's coming out here soon.
That's a Resident Evil inspired, right?
There's the sequel's actually coming out, I think, this month. It's going to be out here soon.
Really?
So I wanted to play the first one. Unless the second one's already out, which I don't think it is. But I think this year, more than ever, on like indie games, on Steam Next Fest, on everything I'm seeing, there are so many survival horror games that I'm just sitting here like, what? What? There's so many. There's so many more. Like there are a lot of like, oh, this game looks really cool. Oh, it's survival horror. Okay, next one. Oh, it's survival horror. Oh, this one too, and that one.
It's survival horror.
I'm really surprised. It's also really cool because I feel like it's kind of been a genre that's been kind of resting on like the mountains of Resident Evil and Silent Hill for a while. There hasn't been like a lot. I think the last one I can think of, which I still need to play, is Hollow Body, which was by the same guys who made a game I really loved called Chasing Static. But I haven't seen a lot until this year. I feel like so many games I looked at are like, oh, okay. And even like there was this one that just came out. It's more first person called like the Castle of the Demon King or something. And it's more like classic PlayStation 1 survival horror. I'm seeing a resurgence of this genre like crazy this year.
Yeah, I guess it's been long enough without anything prominent for people to just be like, now's the time. Go, go, go. Yeah, they've been doing a bunch. I think the only really like survival horror that I've really seen outside of the main franchises in recent years has been like people making like inspired games with the old tank controls and things like that, but then they end up usually being pretty like short experiences or whatever, and they don't really innovate too much. But it seems like we're kind of reaching the point again where people are starting to actually like be like, no, I'm gonna actually make a game that stands on its own and doesn't have to live in the shadow of, you know, Silent Hill or Resident Evil or anything like that. The only recent-ish, I say recent, it's been 3 years, but survival horror game that came out that was absolutely fucking genuinely phenomenal in my eyes was Signalis.
Oh yeah.
If you've observed that game.
Yeah, I have that one too.
Yes, that one is insane. That one's crazy, especially with the narrative and the way that it does a lot of I guess the scares and the resource management.
Isn't that closer to like a 2D platformer or a like Metroidvania kind of game?
Yeah, you kind of navigate around like Transistor or Bastion or whatever. It's got like that. It's got like that 2D, 3D kind of space. So you can go up and down, left and right, and all that stuff. But it is, you know, like a top down. You're just kind of looking into a doll's play area kind of deal as you move your character around. But it's very intelligent. The sound design in the game's crazy. It was very. You could tell it's very Resident Evil inspired, but like it stands alone. Like it doesn't seem like they're just like, yeah, we made Resident Evil again. It's very much its own thing. It even has some trippy interactions and stuff with like the UI and all that kind of stuff that's really cool. Does a couple of things with messing with your game and whatnot, which is cool. And it has multiple endings and whatnot, so that's definitely, I think, one of the more recent ones that stands out to me besides all the people who just, you know, try to make like demakes essentially. Because I've seen a couple of people who literally make Resident Evil. Like they're like, and they'll even call it like, I don't know, like I don't remember the name of the one I'm thinking of, but let's just say it's like Resident Souls or something like that, right? And you're like, okay, all right, man. Or zombie residents or something like they'll just do that and you're like, oh, come on, man. Like you're not even trying to be like, this is my own thing. You're definitely trying to be like, no, this is Resident Evil. So it is nice seeing a lot more like original stuff come out, because Signalis is the last one I can really think of that was like super kind of stand on its own and do its own thing. Because it felt like if you took the best parts of Nier Automata and combined them with the best parts of Resident Evil. It was like a really weird merger, but one that kind of just worked. And I think it's overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
Oh, I've heard nothing but amazing reviews of Signalis. It's one of those games that I've heard just everyone talk about.
Yeah, it's got a 96% in both general reviews as well as recent reviews.
Yeah, my backlog's pretty vast.
It's the bidge.
Oh, I'm that idiot that's like, oh, this game looks interesting. Let's support dev. So I have so many things in my Steam library that have never been touched, and I'm like going through looking for horror games to play. I'm like, when the fuck did I get this? Like, okay, cool. This will be a good one.
I have pretty good restraint with that, because I'm like, I know that I'm gonna just compile a bunch of games that I'm either never gonna play or it's gonna take me like 8 years to fucking play it, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna do too much right out of the gates, and so I'll only get stuff that I think I'm gonna play right now or that I just want to collect. So like one thing I want to collect, for instance, is all of the Chilla's Arts games, because I really like those games.
The new one that they're coming out with looks great.
I'm not familiar.
The fishing one. The fishing one?
Chilla's Arts fishing.
It's been like the only one that's interested me.
Umigari?
Mm-hmm.
A bizarre first-person harpoon fishing simulator that gets increasingly uncanny the more you play it.
Yeah. I didn't think it was Chilla's Art when I saw it.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, but that's their new one, and that's like the first one that I've been like, ooh.
Umagari presents itself as a rather normal fishing simulator, but it only takes one look at the developer's track record to realize that the game is probably hiding something more sinister. As a Japanese fisherman, it's your job to hunt for fish aboard your boat. Caught fish can be sold to fishmongers found on different islands, who will reward you with money that can be used to upgrade your harpoon's boat and other gear. It gets more stranger as you go. What the hell is that giant fish?
Exactly.
And a fish with legs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fair enough. That is definitely very different than the usual I'm being stalked by somebody games.
Yeah, I enjoy watching people play those. I can't play them myself. I just get bored.
Yeah, I'm in a mixed camp because I'm like, I think like one part of it would actually freak me out because that's like real tangible things bother me a lot more than the fantasies. So like when people are like, ooh, zombies are scary, I'm like, no, they're not. Oh, ghosts are scary, no, they're not. And like, but like when it's like, oh, someone's stalking me, someone broke into my house, someone did whatever, that fucking messes me up. That messes me up big time because I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
So, like, I think some of them would get me, but I think like now that like Phil's Arts has done like that MO like 8 times, it probably wouldn't get me as much the 8th time.
Yeah.
But like the first couple, maybe like back when we were talking about like the coffee shop one and whatnot, yeah, sure. But nowadays it's like that's always the MO. It's like it's just like, oh, what's the story? I don't know. You're some girl that lives alone or is at work alone or is walking home late from work alone, and there's a guy stalking you, and it's like, okay. And every person you run into is unreasonably weird for some goddamn reason. And so, who's the person actually stalking you? I don't know. Is it the old lady that like craned her neck at you and said weird shit? Or is it the guy that's been following you on your way home? Or is it that weird police officer? I don't know. And it's like, and I'm just
Which one is it? I can't tell.
I don't like when games, movies, and media do the thing of like, we're gonna make you paranoid of what the threat is by making everything suspicious. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like blanket suspicion. I mean, like, I can get the idea of trying to have that overlapping like anxiety, but when you make like everything just weird to be weird, like every person that somebody runs into is just like an absolute freak, and it's like it removes away from me because I'm just like, this is unrealistic. I'm like, it's a lot more realistic that you're gonna run into some weird people and some normal people, and likely than not, the normal people might even be scarier than the fucking people who are unhinged because they're actually just good at masking. I'm
really trying to find this horror game. Yeah, because I know you'd love it.
Is it the new Pokemon game?
The new Pokemon game?
Yeah, isn't that a horror game? How crazy bad it looks?
I mean, you're not wrong. But then again, they haven't looked good in a while.
Yeah. But...
So I guess I played a few. So there was this nice little indie horror game called Late Homework that was very Silent Hill inspired. I loved that game.
I know that
Kingdom of the Dead was a lot of fun. In Sound Mind, I guess, would count as survival horror. Nightmare of Decay was a really fun one. That's the one I was thinking of. It takes a lot. It's like 4 hours to play through. It takes a lot from a bunch of different horror games, like the keys from Resident Evil, the puzzles. It spoofs a few things, but it's a really fun one. I guess I want to say I played a lot more first-person survival horror games than like the classic third-person. I don't know if there's just an issue I have with third-person games, which is funny, considering Dark Souls, Ninja Gaiden, like all the other games that I love and enjoy.
Right.
But like, I guess with horror, it just doesn't click with me as much. Like, because Resident Evil 5 to me was more just like, oh, I'm being stupid with my friends. It felt like Army of Two.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So I guess I have a disconnect there, right? Where it's not as scary for me with like the over-the-shoulder view as it is like, oh, it's in my face. So I guess maybe the disconnect is it doesn't really feel like horror. It just feels like, oh, there's monsters here.
No, I can get that. I can get that for sure. I think innately, like, yeah, first person ends up being a lot scarier because, you know, not only are you experiencing things like firsthand, but also it limits your field of view, and so there's always a threat that there's something right behind you or something like that. And when you play in third person, you always know that something's not behind you. So like because you can see behind yourself, assuming that the camera isn't like in your shoulder.
Like,
some games do that.
no, nothing's there.
Well, yeah, like Dead Space, for instance, is like in your shoulder. But like, you know, Resident Evil tends to be more far out or fixed cameras and stuff like that. So you have a lot more angles to see stuff. But then, you know, at the same time, you could have moments like when I played, I streamed Resident Evil 2 remake, and I had beaten it like 4 times. I'm like, I know this game like the back of my hand. I was like looping Mr. X around tables like it was DVD. I was being incredibly disrespectful. I looped the AI so hard that he left. He literally left. He stopped halfway through the loop and just walked away, and then didn't come back for like 20 minutes. And I was like, okay. I somehow embarrassed the computer. But
there was bad at this.
There was a scare that I got because I was so focused on navigating at one point, and I got jumped by like 2 zombies, and they were so growly and snarly and loud that I didn't hear the stompy stomps of Mr. X. And then suddenly there was like in the third person, there was just suddenly something that blocked my camera, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And so I turned my camera around, and suddenly he's right there. I'm like, oh my god, it's X. And I just I was like, what?
Wait, didn't you make a short out of this?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I remember that. It was near the helicopter or something, right?
It was on the first floor near the Clover Room, I believe, or whatever. Yeah, in the bottom left corner of the map. Yeah, I literally hit myself. I was like, ain't no way. I didn't hear him come up, but of course, like rewatching the footage, I could hear him stomping up. I can hear him approaching. Like I know he's coming. But in that moment when I was overwhelmed with like all the audio that was happening, I was probably talking to myself and like, you know, doing whatever. I didn't hear him, and so like he just literally just like snuck up on me, and like genuinely scared me.
How you going, boy?
And now I get distracted as my Echo device is lighting up for some reason.
Echo.
Stop, please.
Oh, does it actually respond to that?
You can say stop, but I don't think it's actually. Yeah, I'm just flying off the screen. Don't worry about
it. God damn it! Talk about survival horror, jump scare.
I'm the threat. I'm Mr. X.
X gonna give it to you.
X gonna give it to you. Gonna give it to you. My God.
Oh, okay.
My God. But yeah, like there's moments when like the camera can add to the scare, because I think honestly, legit, if he just punched me, I probably wouldn't have actually been as startled. Like I think it was the fact that I actually got to see him and go, what was that? And then turn my camera and be like, oh, and then he swung, and I was like, okay. Like it was the full add up of that. I think if I just got hit in the back of the head, I'd just be like, what was that? That was weird. And I turn around, oh, it's X.
Like I can see that. I definitely, when I played Dead Space, because I played the originals, I haven't played the remake yet. I definitely still need to. I heard it's amazing.
I haven't played it yet.
But I played the original 3, and Dead Space 1 I think got me the most. 2 was 3 was 3. But there definitely were a lot more scares, I feel. And they were done pretty well. Like, you know, on like the little elevator that's going across, you know what's gonna happen. Okay, blah, you scare me. And then you go back and they're just waiting for you, and you're just like, oh.
Oh yes, this is horrible. Yeah, one I think is like definitely, I think the best for like the standard horror survival kind of feeling. 2, I think was arguably scarier, but I think that it like wears out its welcome about like a third of the way in, because a lot of that game is just, oh, you're going crazy, so we're just gonna randomly shift the room into a nightmarescape and then have an hallucination and it's gonna shift back, and like that was scary for like the like 2 or 3 times, and then by the 4th time I was like, can I just do this puzzle, please? Like I'm just trying to like. I'm not trying to sit here and have a dude come running at me and then disappear the moment that they get near me. Like I'm just trying to do this, man. Like it got like a little bit tedious after a point, because it just kind of felt like they threw jump scares into the game a lot more frequently. I did like the times when they would make you hallucinate, and then the hallucination would end, and something's actually in the room with you, and I'm like, ah, I'm like, oh, this is a problem. But like for the most part, it was just kind of it got into a loop. Three, it was a co-op game, and co-op games immediately remove horror elements by like half for me. Like Fear 3, Resident, yeah.
Oh, Fear.
Well, Dead Space 3 was co-op.
Yeah, Dead Space 3 was co-op.
Yeah.
And then I know Fear 3 was too.
Yeah, Fear 3 was co-op.
I never played the Fear games.
Resident Evil 5 and 6 were co-op, as well as Outbreak and a couple other offshoots. But like anytime you add that extra person element, it immediately removes some of the scare from it. Because one,
yeah,
you have your friend that's probably cracking jokes or having a reaction, and that kind of takes away the tension. But also like, it doesn't feel like you're in as perilous of a situation if you have someone that can kind of get your back or like pick you up or help you out in some way. And so like, yeah, Dead Space 3 just kind of, that's what it was for me. Like, it just didn't feel like that. And you spend a lot of time like on the surface of the planet and bright light against the white snow, and that kind of removed a lot of the tension, because like, what's so scary of a zombie coming out of the snow as compared to going through a tight corridor and it comes out of a vent next to you? There's a very different feeling.
Oh yeah.
So like, I know that, I think that's where 3 kind of shot itself in the foot. But 1 and 2 were definitely a lot better. 2, I just think overstayed its welcome a bit with its scare tactics.
Yeah, with Isaac constantly like freaking out over things, it just got. In the beginning, it was something, but I feel like that's another thing that happens in like a lot of like third-person survival horror, is some of the gimmicks just overstated welcome. Because most survival horror games are like hours long, like they're not short. Like a lot of horror experiences are like what, like an hour to 4. Resident Evil, like your first time playing through them, you'll probably go for like 8 to 10.
Yeah.
If you're exploring them. Like they take a while. So sometimes and same with Dead Space, they're like, I think it's 12 hours. Especially with all the side missions and all the exploring and backtracking and all the secrets you can find. After a while, the same shit gets old, and keeping it on that level of like, oh, it's not stale, here's something else, and like having that good gradual increase so it doesn't feel that way is hard the longer the game is.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That's why like I think Resident Evil does a good job. Like again, you haven't played the early ones, but Resident Evil tends to shake it up by either diversifying what actually is like a threat. It might change the zombies. Like, for instance, when you go from Resident Evil 1 to 2, there's, like, a different feel. Because Resident Evil 1, the main fear and threat of that one was that things don't stay dead. And in the... I don't remember if they were in the original, but they were definitely in the remake. There's an enemy type called Crimson Heads. And they're essentially... either zombies that you didn't kill or zombies that the game eventually places there that are significantly more aggressive, quite like 2 to 3 times faster than the other zombies, harder to kill and deal more damage. And those only come in after you reach a certain point of the story. So while you sit there and you're like, I'm good, I can dodge the zombies and the dogs like they're no problem, you get introduced then suddenly to the Crimson Heads, which are a bigger threat. And then it removes the veil from your eyes that things can't change in the game. That the comfort that you had that you cleared out a hallway doesn't matter anymore. And I think there was even a couple times where the zombies would cross rooms, because like that was one of your biggest safety in the start of the game, was like the moment you go through like a loading door, you would be like in a separate instance, and so nothing would follow you. But there were certain parts where the Crimson Heads would be like, I don't give a fuck, and they'd go into the other zone with you. And so that adds like an extra layer of tension. And then 2 shifted that and was like, okay, the zombies don't really change that much, but now you have X following you. And then 3 had the same thing with Nemesis. And especially when it came to Nemesis, it's random. I can play it right now and have him show up at here, and here, and the next time I play it, he doesn't show up at any of those.
Okay.
And then they made the 3 remake, and it's all scripted. So, which removes a huge element.
I remember a lot of people talking about the 3 remake, which sadly is the one I have. I don't have, so I'd be playing the remake and missing out on that.
Yeah,
But
the remake is rough, but it's an experience.
I've heard a lot of people complain about it, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, they like cut down the content by like half, and then they
Oh yeah,
removed
because
some.
it's really short, isn't it?
It was the shortest I think out of all the remakes, assuming that you don't know how to
Yeah.
just speed run through it anyways. And yeah, it was just the scariest part of it is Nemesis pursuing you and randomly attacking you, and they just said, nah, what if it's scripted? And then like for some people he's just a bit frustrating because he has stuff like a rocket launcher and shit. And he's also like obscenely fast. So for some people it's kind of annoying because if you don't, they added in the 3 remake, they added like a perfect dodge mechanic. And so if you don't basically get down the perfect dodge system, there's a lot of things that he ends up doing that you kind of just sit there like, really, that hit me, really. Ugh. And then you get frustrated and you're just trying to go through the area and the game's just like, you know, screwing you over with that mechanic. Which, you know, I kind of like it because I do like dodging and parrying and stuff like that in games.
I was about to say dodge.
But I feel like it does like it did take away a bit of the tension, I think, in the game, because there was like a lot of focus on that system. But I don't know. In the original, it's a little bit more tense. I think that it did have some kind of defense system in the original, but I don't quite exactly remember what it was. But
Running.
yeah, running. I mean, you had like safety knives. Like if something grabbed you, you could like shank them to get them off of you.
Yeah.
And then it would like consume the knife, or well, I think it's sometimes consume the knife. I think sometimes if you killed them, you can sometimes get the knife back, but then you'd have to actually, you know, kill them.
Yeah.
So, which you may not always want to do. And that knife might be your lifeline, so you don't want to just like be throwing away your knives.
That's fair.
But yeah.
Just goes back to managing resources being like the number one thing in these types of games.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that I think is definitely like a big thing that makes it. And I don't think just like being like just having like ammo and health management, it's the same as like Resident Evil and Silent Hills need to like have different puzzle pieces in your inventory and things that you have to like have because you have to always meticulously choose what you're bringing into a fight, which is such a big deal compared to other survival horror games where you just stack a bunch of ammo and health on you and that's all you're really worrying about carrying. But having to actually
shoot.
Yeah,
Heal,
basically. Yeah. So having to actually be like, okay, so I need a crank for this thing, and then the crank's gonna give me an item. Okay, cool. Then I need that item to go into this other item that I have to get. That's 2 slots. So I need at least 2 slots free. Okay, but I need at least 1 healing item. Okay, so I'm bringing this healing item. All right, well, I always gotta have my knife, so that's another slot. And then I have my gun. Okay, do I bring extra spare ammo? I don't know, but then that's like a slot gone, and I only have 1 slot left. I don't know. And then you're deciding, and then you're always in this place of like inconvenience, and that's what adds to the tension because you can't just be a walking armory like you can in like 5. I mean, granted, 5 still had some inventory management because you still had like your guns took up space, and then you had ammo that took up the other spaces. But it was by no means as aggressive of management as like 1 and 2.
Okay. I heard Zero's item management was rough. Is one thing I did hear. Like I heard Zero's item management was really rough. Like you're dropping items on the floor, trying to remember where they are so you can come back from later.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I'm like, wait, why?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Sounds like pain.
It was pretty painful. But I think they learned from it, and I think like the iterations of Resident Evil like 7 and 8 are kind of like going back to kind of what they used to do, but not using such an antiquated system. Like I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh my god, all the future Resident Evil games need to like be exactly like 1, 2, and 3, because I also recognize that there are also like, you know, games of their time. and that things do need to progress and change and stuff like that for a modern audience. And I think what they're doing with 7 and 8 and presumably 9, because 9 looks like it's just 8 again, is like a good direction to go in, because it gives you just enough item management without it being cumbersome, and the fights are still avoidable. That's a big thing too. Silent Hill, Fatal Frame, Resident Evil, a lot of the fights you can kind of just avoid. You don't have to engage with every fight that you have to do. Well, 5 I guess you kind of do, but for a lot of it, but a lot of the games you can kind of just be like, all right, there's 2 zombies in this hallway, I'm gonna just like dip around them, and that way you don't waste resources on fodder, essentially. Especially if you know that you can't secure the kill. Like if you're playing Resident Evil 1 and you don't have materials to burn them, then you're kind of just like, well, I might waste resources on them, and then they still get up anyways, and then what do I have to show for it?
You don't got a face.
Yeah. So it's definitely like a move in the right direction. I think even like I haven't gotten through Silent Hill F yet. I think they've done a pretty good job so far of modernizing it. My only like critique with how much I have played with it is that I do think that the new setting isn't as scary as I had hoped it would be. And like, so like, I know some people have the criticism of like, it's not Silent Hill because it's not in Silent Hill. And I'm like, shut up, man. Like that I don't necessarily agree with. But that being said, I do think that the departure from it being in Silent Hill and the way that the environment and the music and the atmosphere is, I think removes some of the scare for me, because I think that the way that the Silent Hill horror tends to be is such an oppressive ambiance and environment that going into this kind of like pretty, I guess, place, it takes away from it. Because like in Silent Hill F, you're just kind of in a village, so half the time it just looks like I'm in a foggy village. The lighting is a lot brighter, so it's not like it's you know, and the fog isn't as dense, so it's easier to see things from far away. The enemies are loud as fuck, and you kind of always know where they are. And the music is a lot more chill, because it's just like chill Japanese instrumentals with a little bit of that like Silent Hill twang. But like in the original Silent Hill and Silent Hill 2 and 3, the aesthetic of everything becoming rusty is such a visceral experience. The sound of your feet and the monster's feet clanking on metal is unnerving. The soundtrack is anxiety inducing, because it's all just like sounds like people are just clanking on metal pans to do the instruments for the songs and stuff like that. And it's, I think like it removed a bit of that. I don't want to say polish. That's not the word I'm looking for, because I think Silent Hill F does exactly what it's trying to do.
Personality.
Yeah, like its personality, identity, something like that is a little bit more. It's different, and like I can understand people saying that Silent Hill F isn't like a Silent Hill game, and I'm like, yeah, they probably could have titled this something else, and it would still stand on its own. But I don't like think that it's necessarily like a departure. I just think it's a new iteration and a new vision for what Silent Hill could be. So
do you think it would have done better if, instead of being so opened, the areas were more confined, and instead of rusted metal, it just turned to like decayed wood, and instead of hearing like scraping on metal, you just heard creaks everywhere? Do you think it would feel better if it was more confined?
I think so. There was a portion of the game that I played so far where you go into what is the equivalent of the Dark World in this game, which is when the world completely changes. And you're basically in what is like a Shinto temple. And in that temple, it's a lot more claustrophobic. There's a lot more random kind of noises you hear. The ambience is a lot more dreadful. And there's a lot more like tight corners and angles you have to take than the open settings and the bright village pathways and stuff like that. And so that felt a little bit scarier to me. Now, granted, it didn't scare me at all, but it takes a lot to scare me. But that felt a little bit more on brand to what I'd expect from the game than what the rest of the game so far has been. And every time like one of the big monsters come by, I don't really feel threatened by it. Like I remember the very first time I ever ran into like a bobblehead nurse in like Resident Evil 2, Silent Hill 2, and like that was horrifying. But like I think like they kind of how do I word it? They kind of like, it almost feels like the game's trying too hard because like the main enemy type in the game so far is like these
Like the dolls,
scarecrow
right?
mannequin doll things,
Yeah,
and they're just
that are caked
so,
up on a Sunday night.
yes they are, but they're so insanely exaggerated with their movements that it's like it almost actually takes away from how scary they are, because it's like, okay, I'm like, now it just seems like it's like if you told two people to try to scare you and one dude kind of planned out the perfect time to just like jump scare you, and that was effective, and you're like, "Huh, good job, you got me," and then the next dude just bent backwards like a fucking circus, person, and crawled at you, and you're just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's kind of like how it feels. It's like, that didn't bother me. Why are you being so extra? um it's kind of like how some of the movements in that game feel. It feels like it's a little too much. um
We know why. I mean, they definitely are trying too hard. From everything
yeah,
I saw from the game, it seems that way, especially with the combat system, the way they did things. But there's a reason why. Like
yeah,
Silent Hill was Kojima. Like it was like you take him out of it, and it's kind of been rocky as hell.
well, not even, because the original Silent Hill and stuff like that had a lot of inspiration and guidance from um the rest of like Team Silent, with like Imamura and Akira Yamaoka, who did the music, also had a lot of say in it. But
Hmm.
like, I think Yamaoka also did the music for F. I'm not sure, but it just, yeah, he did. Um,
I was about to
but
say I thought I heard something about him doing it.
yeah, he did it in collaboration with a bunch of different artists. Um, but like, I don't think he had as much input into the narrative as he had before.
Mm-mm.
But I think it's also just a disconnect of um this is where, Westerner comes in here, where I think it's also just a disconnect of culture, because I think like, although I know Japanese culture and I know a lot of the symbolism that exists in the game and all that stuff, it's not something that I grew up with being innately scary. It's just kind of things that I learned. So
That's
like,
fair.
if you're in this game and you see this environment and these creepy environments, and you just think of like the time you went into your grandmother's old Japanese house and it was creepy for you or something, and you're thinking of the symbolism between like Higanbana flowers and stuff like that, and that means something a lot more to you than it would to a Westerner just knowing what that means. I think it's a different thing. So like, I feel like if I looked up reviews of Japanese people talking about the game, they would talk very differently than how I'm feeling, because they would have more of an actual like cultural contribution to the way that the game handles scares and
That's a
narrative.
fair way of looking at. That's a fair way of looking at it, to be honest, because there is always that cultural side.
Yeah. I think that's where the disconnect is I'm too Western coded to fully immerse myself in it. And then also, I think being someone who's grown up with like the Silent Hill franchise, I almost said Resident Evil again, and uh having a specific expectation for the environment, and then it not being that environment anymore, it kind of feels like it's something else entirely. But like, I'm in that camp where like, it's not that I dislike it because of all this. It's just kind of like, I almost see it as being something completely different rather than trying to compare it. And so I'm trying to kind of just see it as its own entity and own entry that just so happens to have a name that is familiar.
Yeah, I feel like that's my feelings from everything I've seen from it. Is that I wish it's just another one of those scenarios of I wish they would get something else.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I wish they would have just named it something else. It'd be like if it would be kind of like if Bloober named Chronos frickin' Dead Space 4.
Yeah.
Or like Dead Space relaunch or some bullshit. But Chronos is a completely different game that, from what I've heard, is amazing. From everything I've heard on that game, it's been really, really good. So I really want to check that one out. But I definitely feel like Silent Hill F should have just been named something just a little bit different, because you can still do that, like falling into that terrifying world and that terrifying place in a different setting. It doesn't need to be Silent Hill for that to happen.
Yeah.
It does not.
I do think though that they are trying to tie in the game so that they can kind of, I don't want to say retcon, but kind of just continue to make games in that universe, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things that I've run into so far that seem like they're kind of similar to plot points in Resident Evil. I keep doing it. Silent Hill 1 and 3. And so I'm waiting for the moment in the story where there's like a moment where it reveals that, like, since this is the furthest back Silent Hill game, that it's going to just be like, oh, this is like the progenitor to it all. That, like, I think I said this on stream. I was like, that they're gonna say that the faith that the people have in this game eventually was picked up by Westerners, and then the Westerners added Christianity views to it, and then that's what the faith became in Silent Hill, and they kind of just did like a repeat of it essentially over in the West, with their own beliefs kind of like wedged into it, and I think that's kind of where they're gonna go with it. But I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of threads that I'm seeing, but like I don't think I'm far enough into the game. I think it's like if you're actually exploring and doing stuff at your own pace, I think it's like a good like 9 to 10 hour game. So okay. I'm not too far in because I've only been able to play it in like 2-hour bursts with the schedule that I've had, but I want to get through it. It's getting to the point where I'm kind of like, I kind of just want to play it on my own and not even bother like continuing to stream it or whatever.
Yeah.
And just kind of be like, I just want to kind of get through it because I feel like I would tear through it a lot faster and enjoy it more without that. But at the same time, like,
that is one of those things with streaming, especially with like this is exactly why I don't stream horror games, is I don't enjoy them as much on stream. Like I genuinely do not. I get taken out of the world so much. So one of the main reasons I stopped streaming any type of horror, unless it's like co-op, is because I get sucked so far away from being scared that I'm just like, oh yeah, this is a cool game. I can't enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
I think that's why I literally stopped playing Silent Hill 2 Remake on stream and just finished it all by myself.
Yeah, it definitely has a different feel. But at the same time, there's like certain times when I do want to like have an experience with my community. So it's always like a coin flip. If it's like, do I want to experience this for myself with the full immersion and it being scarier because I don't have someone else there with me, and yada yada yada, or do I want this to be like an experience? Because I definitely don't go into like horror games. Like I do post horror stuff on my YouTube channel and stuff like that, but like I'm not like a horror poster. I post a lot of varied shit, so it's not like I'm like sitting there like I need to play every horror game because it's the content. So there are times when I do want to kind of do it on my own, and there are times I want to do it on my stream. It just really depends on like how I want to experience it. There's a part of me that almost wants to do Resident Evil 9 once by myself and then kind of do it on stream. But I also kind of just want to capture my experiences with it. And I know that I'm not as good of a person when it comes to like recording myself playing on my own. Like I'm not a good like Let's Player. Like it's not that I can't yap and I can't talk, but I feel like part of the way that I conversate and the way that I do things is very different when I'm recording myself versus when I'm streaming. And I think that I add more to the conversation when I am streaming because it usually comes from more of a perspective of like trying to explain and express thoughts, where I feel like it's a lot more just reactionary when I play by myself.
Yeah.
And so like it always becomes like that thing, like if I want to capture that experience, then I have to stream it because that's the only way that I'm gonna reliably do it. It's also why I haven't really played like many off-stream recorded horror games in a while, because I'm just like, my commentary just ends up being like, oh, that was scary or something, and like sarcastic, and that's it. There's no other commentary, there's no back and forth, there's not something that someone in chat instigates and then I like kind of like bounce off of them. It's just kind of like, I just kind of am unimpressed usually, and then I sound more jaded usually, so and I don't want to be like super harsh and jaded on every single thing I play.
No, that's fair.
And so that's why like usually I like that. And so I think Resident Evil is going to be interesting. The biggest thing for me will be deciding how I go into it, because you can go into the game first person, third person, and let the game decide. And so at certain parts the game will go. Yeah. So they're giving you full control of how you can navigate the game. So you can either play it completely in first person, completely in third person, or the game will switch up depending on whatever's happening, the perspective. So if it thinks that it's like you're getting chased down a hallway, let's do it in third person so you can watch the monster behind you as you're running, and it'll switch back to first person once you're like safe again or something.
I actually have a lot of respect for that, because it allows people who are fans of like the original Resident Evil, where it's like third person, to experience this game in the way that they enjoy. But it also allows fans of the new series, because there's a lot of people that came to Resident Evil with 7. There's a lot of people that their first Resident Evil game was Resident Evil 7. And it allows them to experience this game in the way they're used to it. I think that's actually really, really cool. So, like, hats off to them for that, because you won't see a lot of companies doing something like that. They'll be like, no, we're sticking to this, or no, we're sticking to that. And this one's just like, you know, you like both, do it.
Yeah, it's also because Resident Evil, I don't remember if 7 did it. I think they did, but it definitely did it in 8. They added in post the ability to play the game in third person. And so I guess they figured with 9, since people enjoyed the option of playing those games in third person, that they would just outright give you the option to. And then the new feature is the one where the game decides for you, which I think is really cool. So I'm kind of just like stuck in deciding like how I want to experience it, because I'm like, on one hand, I think I'd be more scared playing in first person, but on the other hand, third person's a lot more, you know, Resident Evil coded. And on the other hand, I could do let the game choose for me, but then I feel like sometimes I'm going to be ripped between perspectives at a time that it is not as effective for me. But I don't know.
I feel like it would be, so my take on this matters. I feel like first playthrough would be more interesting to do both. Would be like, let the game decide, because that means that the developers have picked what points they think you would get the better experience with each one. And I think that would be like a really cool way to experience the game. And then after that, you go through in like the different areas, because you have that reference of where the game said, hey, this is where in third person, hey, this is where in first person. Right. And you kind of see like why the developers made that choice from like an analytical standpoint. I think personally, and I think I might, if I do end up playing the game, I think I'll probably play it if it does switch perspectives first, because I think that'll be, I always like developer intended, right? Like if they give me a set difficulties, like this is how you're supposed to play the game, I'm like, cool, doing that one. If they have set settings, we'd prefer it if you play it like this, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to do that. So if this is like, we picked out this part's scary in third person or better in third person, this part's better in first, I'm actually very interested to see how they kind of separated that.
Yeah, that's fair, how they decide to partition it. Yeah, it's I'll decide, because I'm sure I'll play it either way. I was thinking of leaning towards just like the whole one perspective thing, but it just depends on how they do it. I need to like see if there's any like more information, like if anybody got their hands on it, to see exactly how it works, because I think that there's a point when it would be curated and nice, and I think there's a point when it'd be too much, because like there is like an innate different feeling to experiencing things in different perspectives, and I don't know. The original thought was, before I heard even that option was a thing, I was going to play it in first person, because I think that's more likely to scare me, and then play it through the second time in third person.
In third.
But yeah, the hybrid option is definitely appealing, because I'm like, I can get the both, and then I don't have to think about it, and I don't have to make a decision. So, but
yeah.
But
or you do the hybrid one as your last playthrough, because then you've experienced the game in both ways, and you can be like, oh, so this is what they decided.
Yeah.
So you can do it both ways. But I definitely do think first person is going to be scarier. I will always think that, because it's in your damn face, and that's mean.
Yeah. I freaking check something. I had to check something before I said something, but yeah. I'm very excited for it. I'm excited that they're also remaking Fatal Frame 2, and that there was also confirmation that they're doing not only Silent Hill 1 but Silent Hill 3, because they just casually dropped that. Someone interviewed one of the...
I haven't heard anything about 3. What?
Yeah, so they had like a little fringe interview where they were asking them questions about the success of the second game's remake. And they were like, "Oh, is there any like future projects you guys are working on?" And they're like, "Yeah, we have a couple in the pipeline." And then they just casually were like, yeah, so Silent Hill 1 has entered full production," which we kind of already knew about that, so it was like, "Okay, cool." And then they just like low key like fucking lowercase were like, "And Silent Hill 3 started, and we also have they said specifically a second Silent Hill game, which makes me think that they're talking about a sequel to Silent Hill F." So,
If they do a sequel and they keep going with that, that'll be really cool. I'm excited. I'm interested to see when you beat Silent Hill F what your thoughts are in the game, because I've avoided everything about it because I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to play it. But it's always like, I feel like it's one of those games that you're going to have to play all the way through and ruminate on and find some of the secrets twice to see whether or not you actually like how you feel about it. So like, I'm very interested to hear your take, considering like this is a genre your heart, because as someone who really enjoys Silent Hill, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have like, oh yeah, this would have been better as just not a Silent Hill game, or it could completely flip on the head and be like, no, this is great.
yeah.
So be interesting, but I didn't know about 3, so that's cool. So
Yeah,
Silent Hill 1,
they said
2,
it so
3.
like matter of fact. Like it wasn't like they were like drum roll please. We're working on Silent Hill 3 remake. Like they just were like, "Oh yeah, 1, 3, second Silent Hill game," and it's just like, roll that back again. What did you just say? Silent Hill 1? No. After that, Silent Hill 1, 21, and they just kind of like dropped it. I don't know if they were supposed to say it or if they're just like so they don't care if people know.
Just like, well, I feel it's also just like that's going to start the rumor mill, right? Like that's going to get people hyped for it, people talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of leaks or little subtle like teases are always just like on purpose.
Oh,
Like,
no,
on
absolutely.
in purpose, just for marketing, and it's a good strategy. Like people love the rumor mill, so
They love rumors. They like theory crafting. They like having just enough information. Like it's one thing if you just go, like for instance, being Marvel Rivals and being like, "Hey guys, we're adding Angela to the game," and it's like, "Okay, cool," and then you show a trailer of what Angela does, and it's like the mystery's gone. But if you leak the idea that Angela's coming, but nothing else is like apparent, or you only see like a part of her model, then people start theorizing, "Oh, what's her kick gonna be? What's her role gonna be? What's she gonna do?" And then it gets people hyped and talking, and then when the trailer comes out, everybody's really waiting to see not only if the thing that they were excited for, like what capacity it's gonna be, but even more so, where the rumor is true. And so it also becomes like one of those things where you're not only looking to see what you're expecting, but you're also looking to see if like the leaks were real and like that they were actually true. And that builds like so much hype and intrigue. But I definitely think that company, for example, I think definitely Rivals is an example. I think they leaked their shit on purpose.
oh yeah, oh without a doubt.
I definitely think so. And like I think Resident Evil, Capcom is being like cheeky because people keep being like, "Is Leon in 9? Is Leon in 9?" And they never said no. They never objectively said no. And that doesn't mean that Leon is in it. That just means that they refuse to say no because they want people to hold on to hope that he is in 9.
I just want to see Dad bod Leon.
Yeah.
I just want to see Dad bod Leon. Like Chris in 8. Perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection.
I
want to
honestly
see them do that to Leon.
I just want to see Leon show up with, honestly, like I think he would look really good with like longer hair in the back and then like an actual like full on beard.
That'd be cool, like old man Leon. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want like a more mature version instead of a little bit baby face over here.
Yeah, like that would be cool to see him, and he just has his, maybe like a very slight graying to his hair, and you're just kind of like, yeah, that's nice.
There we go.
And like that would be what I would want to see out of him. I don't want to see him appear looking like he's never aged a day. And they have dabbled in like in movies and other games that Leon's appeared in. He has shown up with like stubble on his face and longer hair, 5 o'clock shadow and stuff like that. So like they're not like afraid to give him hair. So it would be cool if they just kind of turned it all the way up and just kind of did that. And it's funny because I'm not even saying that from like a thirst trap perspective, because like I'm not even like attracted to facial hair. I just think genuinely that would be a good progression for him, since he also will be whatever, like 50 years old by the time the game comes out. So yeah, it's like it's a good point for him to be at.
I want to see bald Leon. Like
That's-
he comes back, he's bald with a beard.
That sounds horrible.
Be the most like hated Resident Evil game, no matter how good it is.
It'll just be
Everyone's
like-
just gonna leave a negative review for bald Leon.
Yeah, bald or like buzz cut Leon would absolutely piss people off. They would be.
He looks like Jake from
Oh
Saints.
God. I don't. To be fair though, I don't think like genuinely in a response to that, I don't think they'd ever do that. Not because they'd think that they'd piss off people, which obviously that would be a thought, but because a lot of the franchise, Chris usually has like a buzz cut or short hair, and so to keep the actual like profile and like the silhouetted appearance of them looking unique, he would need to have like longer hair.
But that's the thing. Then you can trick people.
Who's that Pokemon? And then you sit there and you're like, it's Chris. It's Chris. And then it goes away and it's like, it's Leon.
And then like everyone's like, "Dah!"
I'm here for it. I stand by it. Baldion coming.
Baldion.
Resident Evil 10. Resident Evil 10 guys. Or offshoot game. Resident Evil. Raccoon Chronic. No, that's kind of close to what we already have.
I just think of like Pokemon, a Baldion. Makes a cameo with Pokemon Z. Let's go, Baldion.
The game's called Resident Evil Ada's Cuck Chair.
It's got a few different tags on it this time.
Yeah, it's got a couple different tags, and for some reason, you can only purchase it online.
And all the images are censored.
Yep. And it's not advertised like anywhere.
But you get to see Baldion.
But you get to see Baldion as he sits in a assuming chair position for his love. Oh my God.
Nope.
But yes, I am excited for 9. I'm excited for the Silent Hill stuff. I'm excited for Fatal Frame 2, which it's so funny because when they announced like the Silent Hill 2 remake, I'm like, oh my God. Silent Hill 2 remake, we had Resident Evil 2, 3, 4. I'm like, they're talking about 5. I'm like, the only thing that's missing is Fatal Frame. And then I'm like, and I'm like, oh, are they going to do the first one first? Because I'm like, I feel like the second one's like the quintessential game. I feel like the second of all of them are. Like Silent Hill 2 was the biggest Silent Hill. Resident Evil 2 is the one everyone fucking remembers and fawns over. Unless you came in really late and like 5 was your first game and that's the one you identify with. And then like Fatal Frame 2 was like the Fatal Frame thing. It's just like the second game was just like so much better because they did whatever they did in the first one, which was good, and then they polished it for the second one. And I think that makes it really stand out. And I was like, I wasn't sure what they would do, and I'm like, no, they're just starting with fucking Crimson Butterfly right out of the gates, and I'm like, yeah, baby. I'm like, woo! I'm just so fucking happy because that is like definitely my favorite. Not just from like a narrative standpoint, but I think like the scares were the best. I think the mechanics for the Obscura camera and stuff like that were like at their best. And honestly, to be fair, I can't say if any future game was better because I only ever played 1 and 2, but I didn't play the Fatal Frame franchise as hard as like I played the others because I've played every Silent Hill and I played every Resident Evil, but I haven't played beyond Fatal Frame 2, which I think there was 2 games after it. Let me see.
I think there's a lot more than that. They were still releasing Fatal Frame games like I think last year or the year before.
Fatal Frame Crimson Butterfly, Fatal Frame 3 The Tormented, Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. They had the Spirit Camera Project Zero, which came out on the Wii. Fatal Frame Maiden of the Blackwater, which came out in 2014. Then they remastered Blackwater, remastered Lunar Eclipse, and are remaking Crimson Butterfly. So there's
okay.
What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. 6 games.
I remember the remakes. Some of my friends were talking about those and like playing them.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. I don't like camera. I don't like cameras in horror games. I hate it.
Like from a scare
so
factor or
much.
control factor?
Scare. I Dreadout killed me when I played it. Like it genuinely, I was so scared because you just go into this. You go from what, like third person over the shoulder to I'm looking through this goddamn camera and there's a ghost about to kill me. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Like
Dreadout
it loses its luster after a while because they're very spammy and. But like at first I was like, oh, stop. There's also a Dreadout 3 coming next year.
Yeah, I mean it's very Fatal Frame coded, but they tried to kind of make it their own kind of thing too. I liked it because I thought it was like the most genius way to combine what was scary about like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, but then give it its own gimmick, because now not only were you playing a third-person horror game like the rest of them with resource management and all that, but you also had to get up close and personal with the ghosts, and you did more and more damage to them the riskier the shot was. So like it incentivized you to not just shoot on sight. You actually had to be like, okay, it's in frame, but it's not in the perfect frame yet. Okay. Oh, now it's attacking me, and then the moment it attacks you, you have to snap the picture. It was almost like a parry system.
Oh,
yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
So like that was like the skill ceiling of it. So it was like, okay, you could beat every ghost in the game by just snapping a photo the moment you see them, but it's going to consume a lot more resources and do a lot less damage. Or you can get good at the game and get better with your timings and the risk factor behind it, and get more damage for less amount of ammunition being used. Okay. And so you basically just had to get down parry timings because you had to react to when they were close enough to you, and usually when they started their attack animation, you would then take a picture and it would count as a perfect frame and then deal like a fuck ton of damage to them, which is a pretty cool gimmick and mechanic for a game that came out around the same time as the rest of them. There was also,
I was about to say, that's a good one.
There was also Ciaran. Ciaran was the other one.
Oh yeah, Ciaran was like one of your favorites I've never heard of before in my life.
Yeah, Ciaran Blood Curse was a game that is very Silent Hill coded. It's like a village. It's very Silent Hill F. It's village cursed. People are turning into monsters. But the gimmick for that game was that you had the ability. You kind of were like. It was kind of like, I think that the premise was that there was a zombie infection basically in the town. It functioned differently than zombies, but like, let's call it a zombie infection for the sake of simplicity. And I think the cast was also infected, but not like, they were like asymptomatic. But what happened is that they had the ability to tune into the hive mind that the zombie things had. And so you were able to see out of the eyes of the enemies. And so you could decide to sneak around by like seeing the enemy's pathing and the field of view that they have when they're pathing. And so you would just jump, like you would be like hiding behind something, jump into their eyes, and then you would like be like, okay, so he walks here, he looks left, he looks right, he turns around, he walks to this point, he looks left, he looks right. All right, so my safest point to go is here, and then you would disconnect from the monster, and then you would try to stealth around from it. So like it incentivized you to be stealthy and not to get caught by understanding what enemies did. And even when you were doing combat stuff, you could use it in combat to kind of understand like who was potentially like sneaking up on you or coming at you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it had a remake because it was originally called Ciaran Blood Curse, but then it came out again, I think, just called Ciaran. Let me see.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever talked about that game. I don't think I've ever heard about it. It is
insanely niche, I think. There was some people who played it, like, on YouTube.
Okay.
But I didn't... It wasn't like everybody was playing it. Apparently there's 3 games. Okay.
There's more! I gotta play them all!
Yeah, so Ciaran's the first game, then there was Forbidden Ciaran 2, and then there was Ciaran Blood Curse, which is a 3rd installment, but it's also a reimagining of the first game. And it tells the story of an American camera cruise experience in the mountainous region of Japan. Interesting. But that's a cool one to play too because it's a bit different. Yeah, Ciaran came out on the PS2 and then Blood Curse came out on the PS3. So, and apparently it was directed and co-written by Keiichi. Not Keiichi. Keiichiro Toyama, who wrote and directed the original Silent Hill game.
Oh,
Which I didn't know that.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. So it's basically, you know, like a literal spirit successor to Silent Hill because it was written by somebody who literally wrote it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah. I don't actually
It's
know.
a fascinating genre. I feel like it's one of those genres that people do a lot more with and are a little bit more open to new things with. Like, because a lot of the things we've talked about, like the past few episodes, have been how things are getting stale. And people are doing the same thing over and over and over again. I feel like this genre is one that I've seen be a lot more like out there with like their different ideas and their designs, which is cool to see. Like there's a lot of like they play with your viewpoints. They of course with like the locked camera a lot of the times, and the different worlds that you traverse, the different mechanics that they put into it. I feel like there's a lot more creativity in this than most of other places. They've dabbled more in like alien horror. They've dabbled more in You Are Gone.
Okay, I didn't move. I just did that. All I did was rub my forehead, and it was like, all right, bye.
Oh yeah, no. But they've dabbled more in like, kind of like Signalis is very much like Matrixy kind of AI and robots, right? For a lot of their stuff, they've dabbled in a lot more genres in this than I think in any other type of horror, which I find fascinating.
Yeah,
because you can find a lot of creativity here, and that's great to see.
yeah.
It's good to see a different genre that everything doesn't feel exactly the same. Because what's that one new one that just came out that's like turn-based?
Oh,
It's like survival horror, but it's also turn-based combat with the same kind of styling.
Yeah, every step
cool.
you take and every action you take, everything else moves on that same timing. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's literally Resident Evil. Yeah, I forget what it's
And,
called.
like,
That one's cool though.
Just the different stuff like that is fantastic, and I feel like this genre, above all the other ones, has been the most. Hey, let's experiment with some weird shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, let me see if I can find the name of it. I have a creator that plays it. House of Necrosis.
Yeah, that one. That one.
Wait, is it that one?
It looks really cool. Should be.
Why does this look
That
different?
sounds
Why does
familiar.
this perspective look different? Oh my god, I'm like playing a whole ass video. I'm sorry if you heard that. Okay, yeah, it is. Yeah.
I was about to say it should be. Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the people I watched played it 2 days ago, and I watched it, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Don't think I'd play it, but I do enjoy watching it.
Yeah, there's been like survival horror combat games. Like I think there's so many coming out that like they end up being like roguelike turn-based stuff that's just really what the hell are we doing? But it's cool to see them trying different things. In a genre for once.
Right.
Like, because they could have easily just like, no, we only do zombies. We only do zombies here. No, they've actually branched out, and that's, I think, it's kind of refreshing, right? To see that not all horror is repetitive right now, and to see just so many of these kind of games coming up, and I love that. I really love that.
Yeah, I agree. It is very it's very nice to see the diversification and the kind of the return of the genre. I feel like we're kind of in a resurgence of a bunch of genres, not just in horror either. Like I think a lot of people are kind of, I guess time has passed enough for people to kind of feel inspired by old genres and stuff like that again. And it's exciting to see because, you know, over the next 2 years, we'll hopefully see a bunch of new and creative ideas that'll hopefully be resurgences of genres, but also potentially introduce things that might be new steps in progression for the greater genres that they belong to.
Agreed.
But it's a really cool concept. But I don't actually think I have much more to say, honestly, on this.
I think that we talked a good amount about this genre. Fuck.
Yes. Yeah,
Words
usually
are hard, okay?
Usually we go like another 30 minutes longer, but I feel like we eventually kind of hit a point where we're like kind of just cycling back to where we were talking about before. So it's like I think I was like kind of sitting here, I'm like, I think we got a good point, because I think anything else I'm going to say is just going to be like, let me bring up like another obscure random survival horror game and talk about it, and like I don't think I really need to. It's just, but it is definitely one of my favorite genres, and I would, as much as I say it's less scary, I do kind of want more co-op options, because I like playing horror games with friends, but I feel like the moment that you have like 27 friends in a lobby, it's like literally never a horror game again. But if you at least have that one buddy,
panic.
yeah, if you just have that one buddy like Resident Evil 5 and 6, there are moments where it's like it's still like clearly a horror game, and you can have a lot of nice coordination between the players and stuff like that. So, like Resident Evil 5 has I don't know if we played the DLC, but the DLC
we only went through the base.
Yeah, the DLC has a section where you actually get separated and you have to do puzzles and stuff on your own.
No,
Yep. No. You have to do puzzles on your own and face persistent monsters and stuff like that on your own.
Ooh, okay.
And so like it has its own kind of like moments like that where you're together, and then it goes like, oh, you like being together? Yeah, we're gonna separate you. And 6 tries to do that a couple times. Like I remember during like Chris's campaign, there's a part where like, you know, you're separated from peers, and there's also a point when I think during Leon's, I think you're separated as well in 2 different rooms, and you have to do something to get through the room. So like they try it, but it wasn't as scary in 6, because 6 was kind of just hilarious. But yeah, I hope we also get some more like co-op experiences like that, like one homie stuff. Like I don't need more Lethal Companies. I don't need more of that stuff. Like I just want like a nice like kind of couch co-op-y feel survival horror game.
I'd agree with that. It'd be nice to see. I think the reason like this conversation didn't take as long is specifically because of how fine-tuned this genre actually is when you break it down. Because one thing we talked about with mascot horror is that nobody understands what makes it. They just keep shitting things out. But when you go to this genre with survival horror, a lot of people understand it because a lot of people grew up with it and know what they like. Right. So it's a much better defined genre. It's kind of the exact opposite. And so it's kind of funny having both of these be back to back when you have something that is just like slop is getting sent out like every day pretty much. And then you have something that, because survival horror games, even like if you look at the ones that are on like indie games, like Nightmare of Decay is still a 4-hour game. Most mascot horrors are 30 minutes to an hour. And then you look at Tormented Souls, which I think is about like 8 to 10 hours. And that is a full indie game. You look at Signalis, which is 8 to 10 hours. I think a lot of people say that it's like 12 to 15 to explore it. All of these different games take a lot longer. But people understand what makes them work because the genre is so well defined and has so much tied to it, so much nostalgia tied to it, that people understand it better. So in a way, it is literally the exact opposite of mascot horror. It is a genre that has stood the test of time and just been like one of the original like horror gaming genres there is. Because like Alone in the Dark and stuff like that would also be considered survival horror, right?
Right, yeah.
Alone in the Dark, Half-Life, Condemned, System Shock, stuff like that is also still considered survival horror. It's been a genre that's been around that has brought to life some of the best games, most like genre-defining games, like Half-Life, game I still haven't played, but I know its impact. Right. I know the series' impact on everything. I've heard of Condemned so much. I understand the impact of that. And even like the weird games, like people love going back and playing Obscure 1 and 2. And then there's that other one that's just so bad that everyone jokes on. I can't remember the damn name of.
Is it the Lifeline one?
I think so. It might be. There's one that's just so bad that, and just it's still like you're this main character in this town, and the voice acting is and the writing is just so bad, but everyone just is on it like crazy.
I don't think that's the same one I'm thinking of. Lifeline is the one where you're like on a space station and it's controlled completely by your voice.
Oh no, I've heard of that one.
that one was something, because that one's also survival horror, but yeah, you got to be like, go to the mirror. Go to the lobby.
Doesn't she talk to you?
Yeah, she responds to you. And she also responds, like, if you say stuff like, oh my god, this bitch is annoying, or something like that. You say that, and she'll be like, you don't have to be rude. And if you're like,
yes, I do.
And then you go, shut up. And she's like, no, you shut up. Like, she has quips to respond to you. So, like, it's a game that's ahead of its time, but also so limited to the technology of its time.
Let me see if I can find this. I think you played it. It is a very just funny, such a weird game. Where is it? I gotta find it now and be reminded of this goddamn name. Indy, you have too many damn videos.
When you're done with that, we can wrap up.
I know. I'm trying to find it. He has so many damn fucking videos. No. It'll probably take me forever to find this, if I'm being honest, trying to go through his damn collection.
It's okay. We'll end the episode and you'll immediately find it.
I know, right? That was before. That's it. Yep, I can't find it. We're good. We're good. We're good. We can end.
It's all good. It's all good. But yes, this was one of the topics that I was more excited to talk about. It's also a topic that I want to definitely hold Ciaran at gunpoint and be like, you have to play all these games because they have to happen.
I also still need to play Evil Within. Never touch those either.
You're continuing to hurt me. I'm actually reaching a point of disappointment now. I'm sad. We have one more episode left in the season. The topic for it, I guess I could say, is all about found footage. And found footage styled things. So that will also include anything from obviously movies like, Wreck, Blair Witch, but it will also include things like Outlast and, games that use a camera as their instrument for narrative storytelling.
Like the found footage is an interesting one.
Yes. So I think it'll be a fun one to talk about. But we're going to wrap this one up here. As always, you can find Ciaran's social links and all that down below, as well as my own. So if you want to follow them and anything that they do, they post a bunch on YouTube and they stream here and there when they can. So you can follow them on their YouTube and Twitch. I don't really think they social media too much on like Twitter or Blue Sky or anything like that. But they do have them, and I think I do have them linked below. But YouTube and Twitch is definitely your best places to catch them. Me, I'm active everywhere when I can.
You do all the things.
I do. But in any case, thank you for watching. We will see you in the last episode, Halloween special, baby.
Yay!
Have a good one. Bye-bye.